Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping onto the virtual court. We're going to explore everything about NBA 2K25.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll unpack what makes this annual release stand out, and maybe more importantly, figure out what it tells us about where sports simulation games are heading. Is this the year virtual basketball, really blurs the line with reality? Or is it more of a big step along the way?
That's the core question, isn't it?
So for context, this is the 26th game in this series. Super popular basketball sim.
Right, visual concepts in 2K, a long-running thing.
It launched globally September 6th, 2024. There was early access a couple days before, September 4th.
Okay.
And it's across, pretty much everything. PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, Nintendo Switch.
Wide reach.
Yeah, and don't forget the Apple Arcade Edition, too. That dropped October 3rd, 2024.
Gotcha. And our mission here for this deep dive is really to tackle that question you raised.
Right.
Not just what features are new in 2K25, but, why do they matter? For gaming generally, and for you, the player. We'll be pulling together insights from all the sources you've given us, trying to get to the heart of it, see where it pushes things forward, and maybe where some familiar challenges remain.
Sounds good. So, if we're looking for what truly sets NBA 2K25 apart, gameplay-wise, the conversation seems to go straight to ProPLAY technology.
That's the big one this year.
And it's not just like better motion capture, right? They're saying it uses real NBA footage for this unprecedented realism. Can you maybe walk us through what that means technically? How does it work beyond just saying it's more real?
Yeah, absolutely. What's really groundbreaking about ProPLAY isn't just how good it looks, though it does look good. It's how it changes the whole development process.
Okay.
So instead of animators handcrafting every single movement, 2K is using this AI-driven system. It scans actual NBA broadcast footage, like thousands of hours of it, the sources mentioned.
Thousands, wow.
Yeah, and it translates player movements to physics on the court, even really subtle stuff, directly into the game engine. This leads to something like 9,000 new animations. The dribbling mechanics got a total revamp, defensive engines improved too.
So it's less mocap suits and more AI watching game tape?
Exactly. It's basically learning from reality to create that in-game authenticity, which, could seriously shake up how games like this are made in the future, less reliance on traditional animation pipelines.
That's fascinating. So it's interpreting real-world dynamics, not just capturing actors. Kind of like the game is learning basketball by watching the pros.
Precisely.
But 2K25 isn't only about looking forward with fancy tech, right? It also looks back, celebrates the sports history. Tell us about the new historical era content, specifically the Steph era.
Right, and that historical stuff, it really resonates with players. It taps right into nostalgia. The Steph era, focusing on that dominant 2015-19 Warriors team, lets you relive those moments, maybe even change history a bit.
Right.
But it's more than just nostalgia. It gives you unique strategic challenges too. Different rules, different rosters, different play styles from back then.
Right, you have to adapt.
Exactly. It's a really smart way to celebrate basketball history inside a modern game.
Right.
And from a dev standpoint, it adds a ton of replay value.
Okay, so beyond the realism and the history trip, what keeps people playing year-round are the deep modes.
Definitely.
And 2K25 seems packed. You've got the classics people know, MyCAREER, MyTEAM. What's new or refined there? And what about those bigger next-gen modes like the City or the W?
Well, for those core modes, MyCAREER and MyTEAM, it's often about refinement year to year.
Right.
MyCAREER tries to give more player choice, maybe more compelling storylines. MyTEAM keeps evolving its seasonal content, the whole card collecting loop.
Okay.
But what's really interesting, I think, is the expansion of the W mode, the WNBA focus.
Yeah.
This isn't just a small add-on anymore. It feels like a deeper commitment, more robust engagement across both the NBA and WNBA sides of the game.
So real parity and content focus.
It seems to be the direction. Offering dedicated, solid content for the WNBA reflects that bigger trend of inclusivity in sports gaming. It acknowledges the talent and stories from both leagues. It's definitely a sign of where the market's going.
And that commitment to diverse representation, it really shows up on the covers too, and the different editions. You've got Jayson Tatum, Celtic star on the standard edition, but then the All-Star edition, it's Tatum and Aja Wilson from the WNBA.
Which is a first, right? That dual cover.
Yeah, first ever dual NBA cover. Feels pretty significant.
It really is.
And Aja Wilson also gets her own WNBA edition cover, and then the legendary Vince Carter is on the Hall of Fame edition.
That dual gender cover, it's not just symbolism, it's smart business too.
How so?
It signals to a wider audience, women, diverse groups, that, hey, you're valued here. It potentially grows the market for these games and probably influences other publishers too.
Right, makes sense.
And then those different editions, Standard, All-Star, WNBA, Hall of Fame, they bundle different things. Virtual currency, MyTEAM packs, skill boosts, cosmetic stuff.
So something for everyone.
Basically, yeah. It's about offering tailored value. Are you casual? Just want to play? Standard's fine. Are you hardcore? Want a head start at MyTEAM? Maybe All-Star or Hall of Fame makes sense. Caters to different levels of engagement.
Okay. And getting the game itself, accessibility seems key. It's everywhere. Digital, physical.
Yeah, pretty much all the main platforms. PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X Zone, PC, Switch.
The PC version on Steam was a bit later though, October 28th, 2024. And it's worth mentioning, you can find discounts now. Like on Steam, I saw it for around £8.39 on sale.
Yeah, that multi-platform release, plus the different price points and those post-launch sales. It shows they want to get it in front of as many people as possible.
Right.
Which is crucial for these yearly titles, right? Got to keep the player base strong, attract new folks, make sure that whatever console you have or your budget, you can probably jump in.
So, pulling it all together, how did NBA 2K25 actually land? With critics, with players, Metacritic scores show PS5 got a 79 out of 100, Xbox Series X got a 77, PC is 76.
Okay, so generally favorable reviews.
Yeah. What do those scores really mean for players like you, especially with sports games coming out every single year?
Well, those scores, like a 79, they suggest a solid, well-made game. Especially for an annual title, that's pretty respectable. It points to consistent quality.
But not perfect.
Right, not perfect. And that's kind of the story with annual sports games. You might get amazing innovation in one spot, like ProPLAY.
Yeah.
But then you might still hear familiar complaints elsewhere. Maybe about microtransactions in MyTEAM, or some repetitive stuff in MyCAREER that players point out year after year. It's a balancing act.
And it doesn't stop at launch, right?
Absolutely not. The regular seasonal updates, like seasons 5 and 6 we've seen, are super important. They bring gameplay changes, balance tweaks, new content, keeps things fresh.
Shows ongoing support.
Exactly. And things like it being included in PlayStation Plus, what was it, June 2025, for PS4 and PS5, that also shows it stays relevant, keeps the community engaged long after release. It's about that long-term value.
Okay, so to kind of wrap things up, NBA 2K25 seems to really push realism with ProPLAY. It deepens the engagement across both NBA and WNBA, and it keeps supporting the community with updates, events. So whether you're like a solo MyCAREER player, a MyTEAM card collector, or managing a whole franchise in MyNBA, there's a lot there to dig into.
For sure. There's definitely depth across the modes.
Plenty to explore and master.
And, all this raises a bigger question, I think. As these sports sims like 2K25 get closer and closer to reality, blurring that line, what does that mean for the future of sports fandom itself?
How we interact with the real thing.
Yeah, how we connect with the athletes, the teams we follow. Will these digital experiences become, more central to how we are fans? Something to think about, maybe how these advancements might shape your own relationship with digital sports.